This is the one with over-the-head shoulder pads.
Pacifists in dresses.
Another bloody alien race that wants to steal magma.
And squeaky substitute Daleks.
It's called the Dominators.
Here we go!
We're embarking on a voyage all through time and all through space.
Counting Daleks, Thalan, Ood, and the Cybertronic race.
Sontarans look like taters, and Silurians all have wonky scales.
And the Doctor has a TARDIS, we're reviewing all his tales.
Who back when?
Reviewing all of who there is.
Who back when? Subscribe and rate on iTunes, please. Episode by episode, we're trudging down this temporal road. Come join us on this odyssey. What other choice could there be than who back when? Who back when?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen of Podcast Land, and welcome to episode C044 of Who Back When, a Doctor Who podcast. Or DocPast.
No, it's definitely a podcast.
I am Ponkin. Yes, I am. And joining me tonight is the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend. It's JD.
Hello.
How you doing, JD?
I'm fine.
Nice to have you aboard a classic again.
Yes, and, you know, we can use the word classic to mean many things. You have classical architecture, classical music, and you know, in those they are evocative of something which is in times gone by, but it's still beautiful to look at or beautiful to listen. It can also mean decrepit, broken down, and shit.
And I take it you just plonk the Dominators in that latter category, do you?
I'm not saying that. It could be either. Let's see as we go along our review.
Fine. Well, ladies and gentlemen, check this out. The Dominators is... actually, this is a new one, I think, on Classic Who. It's a 5-episode story arc. Also, check this out. It is entirely available for your viewing quote-unquote pleasure. You can watch the whole thing, and in fact, I watched the whole thing online. You can find it on Daily Motion, probably on YouTube, so just, you know, give it a Google and you'll find it. It's a Troughton serial, and allegedly, I don't know if this is true, allegedly one of his favourites.
He did say that, but privately a lot of people said it was actually Power of the Daleks.
Yeah,
Evil of the Daleks. Either
Daleks.
Power or Evil.
I think Evil of the Daleks. There's a lot of conflicting trivia about this online. TARDIS Wikia itself says both. It says, trivia, this was his favourite episode, or his favourite serial. He wanted it screened on his birthday, and then tragically he passed away just before. And then a little bit further down the page it goes, trivia, that's a myth. It was not one of his favourites, so I don't know what to believe. But regardless...
We'll get on to the trivia.
Yeah.
There's some trivia for this episode coming up.
Oh, definitely. Okay, shall we do a B-Scout?
Let's.
Okie dokie. We're improvising this one, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. JD, you start us off.
The Doctor, Jamie and Zoe arrive on the pacifist planet of Dulcus, where they meet up with a group of aliens who are called the Dominators.
The Dominators have arrived to not only, as their name would imply, dominate the indigenous population of Dulcus, such an annoying name for a planet and a people, by the way, both peoples, but also to drill holes into the core of the planet, siphon the magma, I believe, and detonate something inside the planet, spoiler alert, that will turn it into one giant radioactive heap in order to use it as fuel.
So they come with their fake Daleks and basically the fake script from the Daleks' invasion of Earth, and the Doctor, Jamie and Zoe decide, for no apparent reason, to stay and help the Dulcans, or Dulcians.
Dulcians, yes.
Dulcians.
Ugh, yawn. B-Scout over, you are welcome. Okay, I have to admit something. So JD, I get, you don't like this episode, right?
I find bits of it abysmal.
Okay, I think parts of it are incredibly dumb, absolutely redonkulous. It hits all of those tropes that I really dislike in not just Doctor Who, but like sci-fi in general. But I cannot help but love this serial. I am so sorry, JD. Don't leave Who Back When. I really, really enjoyed the serial. Not on an intellectual level, you understand, but, you know.
That's fine. So now what I would do is, if I were you, I'd go on mute, and I'll do this as a solo, because your opinion can't be, you know, onto tape.
No, I will happily tear this serial a new one because it is so silly and dumb. But it's so enjoyable. Did you not find that?
No?
Oh, okay, fine. I think that's just going to make for an even more interesting review.
Okay, so...
We have some introductory trivia, I think, though. Shall we start there?
So, first of all, this is, as you mentioned previously, a 5-part episode.
Yes.
Because it was so abysmal that it was meant to be a 6-parter.
Yeah.
It was so abysmal, it was cut down to 5 parts and an extra episode added to the Mind Robber, which is the episode after.
Okay.
It was written
Which
by...
also is a 5-episode arc, I think.
Yes, because it was meant to be a 4-parter, but it got an extra episode because this episode is that bad.
Wow, alright.
It was written by Norman Ashby.
Yes, which is a pseudonym.
It is for Lincoln and Haseman. Now, Lincoln and Haseman can write Doctor Who, because they wrote The Web of Fear and The Abominable Snowman. You know, they basically created the germs of UNIT. They had Professor Travers and the good stuff that were in those 2 episodes.
So what went wrong?
This is the last episode that they will do.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. This is probably the last episode that they did because apparently they felt, I'm quoting this directly from TARDIS Wiki, but apparently they felt unfairly treated by the BBC. In fact, they even asked for their names to be taken off.
They did.
Yeah, exactly. Is that the reason they used a pseudonym?
That is the reason they used a pseudonym.
Okay.
There is a couple of stories that go around as to why Lincoln and Heisman wanted their names taken off this.
Okay.
Both are dispute with the BBC. So the first one is that as this was being directed, it was just directed poorly.
But it was directed by Maurice Barry.
Who did Tomb of the Cybermen, which is generally considered to be one of the best episodes of Doctor Who.
Yes, and the Moonbase.
And the Moonbase, yeah.
And he later on did... No, wait, sorry, in my notes, I've... Sorry?
Yeah, I was going to say, he never did anything after this one, but he did become an actor.
Exactly, I was going to say, he did later on appear on Doctor Who in The Creature from the Pit. Which
contains some of the most erotic imagery in Doctor Who.
Is that the one where Tom Baker fillets an alien?
Yes.
Oh man, I can't wait to watch that.
I was hoping by saying yes, you wouldn't actually get to the end of the sentence. But the second story that goes around Lincoln and Heisman is that there was a dispute over creative control. For example, Kit Pedler created the Cybermen.
Yeah.
And on anything where the Cybermen are listed, it says Cybermen created by Kit Pedler.
Yeah.
The same as...
Terry Nation and the Daleks.
Our glorious leader, Terry Nation, created the Daleks. And his space contract says that he gets space dollars for every space appearance of the Daleks.
Mm-hmm.
Lincoln and Heisman had created not only the Yeti in The Abominable Snowman, they also created Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart in The Web of Fear.
Which I would say is a far greater contribution to Doctor Who than the Yeti. I mean, I'm sorry, the Yeti don't really appear in that many things, and the Yeti, they're not an invention of theirs. It was just, they decided to include Yeti in Doctor Who.
No, but the Great Intelligence is.
Oh, yes, that's true. They invented the Great Intelligence.
Yeah.
Screw the Yeti, man. The Yeti are nothing.
Well, the Yeti are nothing compared to the Brigadier, anyway.
Yeah, true.
So the other version of the story is that the dispute that they had was over who had the rights to the Yeti and Lethbridge Stewart, which is the one I tend to believe less, because Nation and Pedler obviously have complete and total rights over the Cybermen. They have their names.
But do you not think that maybe the BBC went, oh my goodness, we've already got this going on 2 fronts. We can't afford a third, let alone a third and a fourth.
Well, it was probably, but bear in mind by this point, it was in general considered that they would, we're still in the era of a lot of that sort of thing that writers got to keep the creations.
Okay.
But either way, I can't see people who had done 2 episodes before having a fit just about that, because they would have worked with the BBC before. It wasn't something new to them. And this episode doesn't contain a Yeti or a Brigadier.
No, but the Brigadier is going to turn up in, I think, 2 more episodes or something in, what's it called? I literally just got it on DVD. The Invasion?
Yes.
Yeah.
He does, in 2 episodes' time.
Yeah.
Which is, Kit Pedler, our friend.
I mean, okay, this is pure speculation, and we should jump into the actual episode, but I can definitely see that happening. They're like, well, you're saying that in 2 serials' time, our character is going to turn up. We want credits and we want royalties for that. And the BBC goes, No, because we're already paying Kit Pedler for that episode. And he's getting royalties to boot for the bloody Cyberman.
Although, to be honest, the way that these things were filmed, it's quite possible that the invasion hadn't even been written by this point.
Oh, I see. Okay, alright. Well, anyway.
Either way, I think we should jump into the first scene.
Let's do it. Okay.
But
let's not linger on tiny granular details, though.
Oh, this entire first scene is a tiny granular detail. The spaceship, which looks like a jelly mold.
Yeah. It's beautiful, by the way. Are you saying that you don't like that formation of spaceships in a flying V going through space and one of them splits off from the rest of the group? Like, I don't know, the probes in Empire, and it lands on this planet and we get to see the doors of this flying saucer open? Is that not gorgeous?
Everything up until you see the jelly mold on the planet is good. Then you see the really abysmal shot of it on the planet.
Okay.
Anyway, these two Dominators come out. One's called Rhaego and one's called Toba. Now, they're wearing what can only be described as 1970s shoulder pads. About 3 years too early.
But they're not even shoulder pads. They look, do you know what they look like? They look like Mondoshiwans. You know in The Fifth Element, those giant aliens that just go oompa oompa. The massive aliens.
Or like someone was trying to create the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles about 20 years earlier than they should have done.
This is, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you there. This is a first on Who Back When. As we are talking about this is in real time. I kid you not. As we are talking about them, someone has tweeted at us about their costumes. It just came up on my screen. This is insane. This comes from Debbie Collington at Absinthe Kiss, and she says, they're good for barging through little old ladies at the jumble sale. Like.
Yeah, it's fair. Their costumes are awful, but what is worse than the rejects from Dynasty that they look like is how appalling the acting is.
Yeah.
It's like the director told them to be very, very angry, and one of them, Rhaego, decided that he would just shout in a robotic monotone.
Which one is Rhaego?
Rhaego is played by our future Doctor Who connection.
Oh, nice.
He's played by Ronald Allen, who will go on to be an actor in John Pertwee's first season in Ambassadors of Death.
Is that the one with the metal samurai dudes? I'm thinking of something else, aren't I?
The Ambassadors of Death are in spacesuits.
That look like metal samurai? I've not seen it.
No, I thought they looked like just spacesuits, really.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I'm thinking of something else.
You're thinking of the
with
Sea
eyebrows and everything.
You're thinking of Sea Devils.
Possibly.
No, you're thinking of the, is it the Dravenans from Frontier in Space?
Oh my god, I don't know, but I love that you're just counting these titles off the top of your dome. Bing bong, Future Ponkin here. Yeah, I was thinking of Robots of Death. Bing bong. Okay, so about these two Dominators, which one is Rhaego? Because in my mind, there's one he's the boss.
Yeah.
He's a pro, you might say. So I guess in a way he's a prominator. And then there's his colleague who's not a boss, but he is like his fellow Dominator. So I guess in a way you could call him his co-minator. Yeah, JD is hiding inside his hat. Literally. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, Rhaego is the boss. So
fine.
Rhaego is the boss, and Toba is basically the violent, shouty man.
Yes, in fact, I think we can say this right off the bat. Almost every single time that they say or do anything, they have their own individual roles, and they obviously differ from one another. But from one scene to another, they don't differentiate themselves from themselves. Rhaego, that's the prominator. Every single time that he speaks to the Combinator, he just goes, you are wasting fuel. The quarks, we'll get to the quarks in a second, ladies and gentlemen. The quarks are dangerously low on fuel, and we must focus on the drilling. And the other guy, what was his name again? Toba?
Toba.
The Combinator, he basically every single time says, we must kill everything. We must destroy everything.
And you've used the correct word there, because destroyed, or destruction
Yeah.
is said by Tobus over 60 times in this episode.
Are you serious? Did you count them?
In one line, he does it 4 times. Destroy, destroy, total destruction. That's the end of episode 4.
Love it.
Anyway, so what we do,
Okay.
they've landed, and we also get to, and this is why this scene is the most thing we talk about during the entire episode. They also set up their friendly aliens, or by friendly aliens I mean friendly to the Dominators. They're called Quarks.
Yeah, they're not aliens though, they're robots.
They're robots.
Yeah.
They have arms, which can only move in a very limited motion.
Yeah, 90 degrees.
90 degrees, 2 of them. They're sort of rectangular, they're cuboid.
Yeah, they're box robots. I mean, like...
With a little head on top.
Yes. I mean, I was gonna say that they look like Licorice Allsorts, but actually we're gonna get to an alien that looks exactly like Licorice Allsorts later on in Classic Who. So, no. But yeah, you're right. They're box droids. That's all they are. How they could be viewed as Dalek substitutes, I do not know. But there is one element about them that I find incredibly well done, and that is their introduction in this serial. It takes a good long while. I think possibly it takes a whole episode until we actually get to see one. It's not that standard thing where, like, boom, in your face robots, like that weird paranoid androids from The Wheel in Space, who just, like, we see him a million times before he does anything. In this one, we get to see their POV. We get to see the Cominator, like, bossing them around, but we never get to see what or whom he is bossing around. In that sense, I think it's actually quite clever filmmaking.
Okay, I won't disagree with you on that one. I'll leave that one where it is.
Okay.
So enough of that scene. We now go, we now, and don't forget, we haven't even got to the TARDIS landing yet. We now go on board the school trip.
Yes.
So we cut to a Dulcian craft, which is arriving at this island where the Dominators have
Apparently
landed.
they're illegally as well.
Yeah, because no one is meant to go to the island of death. With a name like that, you bloody well understand.
Yeah.
So anyway, the important people here are Cully.
And that's it. I would say that's it, because...
No.
Spoiler...
No,
what?
no, not quite.
Okay,
no,
fine.
There are 2 reasons why 2 of the other morons on this ship are important.
How dare you call them morons?
They are in this episode for precisely 1 minute.
That's why they're not important. But okay, fine, carry on.
Is it important who plays those other 2?
Oh, we've got a connection. Okay, carry on.
The other 2 males. Right, so we have Cully. We have, I think...
Who wears a dress?
They all wear dresses.
All the men wear dresses. The women wear nighties over black granny panties. So, I mean, excuse me. Huge difference, JD.
They all wear really poor costumes.
Yes.
Cully's the pilot. He is the son, and this is important, put a pin in this, he is the son of the director.
Oh,
Senate.
wow.
Basically, the 3 kids, who are named Wahid, Etnin, and the female, whose name I can't even remember. Basically, Cully is useless as a pilot, because they crash on the island when he tries and argues with his 3 people who are on board. And 2 of them, Wahid, who is played by Philip Voss.
Okay.
He was also in, and I'm afraid I don't actually know who he played, but he was also in Marco Polo. I think he was a part in Marco Polo.
Okay, great serial.
And Etnin is played by Malcolm Terrace, who will be in the Tom Baker episode, The Horns of Nimon.
Legendary.
Which is some of the worst overacting in Doctor Who.
But it's still a legendary serial.
Oh, no, it's a very famous episode.
Yeah.
But it does contain the single most overacted death scene in Doctor Who history.
By this guy?
By Graham Crowden.
Oh, right.
But wait until you get there. The death scene, it literally takes longer than most of our episodes.
Wow.
And that's saying something.
Cannot wait.
So anyway, Cully. Now this is a really important connection.
Okay.
Cully is played by Arthur Cox.
Great name.
Who?
R.T. Cox.
40 years later...
Yeah.
Would play a small role in The 11th Hour, which is the first episode of Matt Smith's era.
What? Oh, wow. Okay, comparison shots on the website. Go to whobackwhen.com.
Whobackwhen.com.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And now you can completely synopsize because, we've actually spent longer talking about them
Then they appear in the show, yes. Gotta say though, goosebumps, dude. Goosebumps. Okay, so basically, to cut a long story short, they encounter the Dominators and are killed. Boom, done. Just to clarify the structure of this episode, in my notes, when they get killed, by the Quarks, by the way, and we don't get to see them get killed by the Quarks, we just see them die. I've written, the Mondachi ones killed the babe. And then 2 lines later, I shit you not, this is how poorly this episode is structured. I've written, all is well. We have another 2 dudes in dresses accompanying another babe. And that's it. So we literally, from one scene to the next, exchange one set of ancillary characters for another set of characters that are actually going to be fundamentally important to this plot, but who are, in and of themselves, identical to the ones that just died. Wouldn't it just have been easier to have one set of characters and that would be it?
Yeah, I agree.
And you could skip like 8 minutes of episode 1.
Yeah, none of these scenes with Cully and these 3 are of any importance, except for showing that the Dominators just like killing people.
Okay.
That's it. They're not important at all.
I suppose. But you could just as well, I think, have...
I agree with you. You get rid of either this group or you get rid of the next group and just merge them into one.
Exactly. Because they are, they are almost identical. With the exception of Cully, they are identical.
And I have things to say about Cully later.
Okay, so at this point, the Doctor has arrived. The Doctor and, I believe now their official joint name, Jay-Z, have arrived on the planets. And they go to a building where they will encounter the other group of identical Dulcian characters. But this other building, and I really want to have a chat with you about this building, this other building is a weapons museum, or like a military museum, a war museum. Do you have any thoughts about this war museum? Because I have a number of thoughts.
I have a feeling from the tone of your voice that the number of your thoughts are not particularly good ones.
No!
I actually quite like the idea.
Really? Explain.
Basically what had happened is that 172 years before this episode, they detonated the only nuclear blast that this planet has ever known.
Yeah.
On this location.
Okay. I'm with you so far, man.
They saw the destruction, the potential for danger that it had wrought. And bear in mind, this is during the Cold War, so this is the analogy that we're getting.
Sure.
And they left this place, which is basically their equivalent to Bikini Atoll, as a museum against and a warning to future generations of the dangers of atomic energy.
Except... Okay, sure, carry on.
And they do allow researchers and students to go there, which to have first-hand the horrors of war. I quite like the idea. I think the idea was quite good.
Okay, no, I guess on a high level, I am on board with what you're saying. I understand why you appreciate that. But this is a war museum on an island that is... that you cannot really visit because everything is shrouded in radiation. And in this museum, there is an operational laser. There are no safeties, they haven't disarmed them or anything. And also, in this museum, there are 2 corpses. So in my mind, we actually never get an explanation for that. In my mind, they're corpses. The Doc refers to them as dummies, but we get that one scene of Zoe looking at the 2 bodies, like the Doctor's just touched 2 bodies and starts laughing and calls them dummies, and we get that look of Zoe where it's like, I bet you there was a line in the script that divulged that those were not dummies, those were people that didn't survive the blast, and they died in that museum, and actually, this museum is a remnant of the island as it was before something detonated there. But that doesn't make sense either, because this was a testing location for atomic weaponry. This wasn't like the target in a war. So nothing about this museum and nothing about the radiation or the weapon or the 2 dummies / corpses makes any sense to me.
I think the episode fails by calling it a museum.
Okay.
What would have been better is it to be called a monument.
So do you think that the 2 people in there are actually just dummies? Do you not think that they are corpses? You think they're dummies?
172 years, they're dummies.
Okay, alright, fine. 2 last things before we move into episode 2, and a lot of this will overlap with what we otherwise would put into episode 2, so don't worry about it, we will speed through that one. Number 1, a soundbite from the old chap. The other group, they're a teacher, an older man who's a teacher, and his 3 students. 2 students? 3 3 students. Can't remember now. Who cares? And he cannot say the word robots. Instead he goes, robots.
You didn't tell me you brought robots.
It also actually happens again in episode 2.
Oh, there is no such spacecraft, nor are there any robots.
The man cannot say robots. It's hilarious. And they kept all of those cuts. And the second one is, just before this episode ends, the Doctor and Doctor and Jay-Z, they meet the Dulcians, and we are introduced to what is basically the Dulcian credo, which will then filter through the entire serial, and that is that Dulcians, I mean, they're super duper open to the idea that, oh, well, you're aliens, obviously, because this is a fact, and we don't need to investigate facts. We only have to investigate theories, but if you say that you're an alien, then we will accept that you are an alien as a fact, and we will be perfectly happy and content to live with that. And I want to put a pin in that because...
Oh, and it's a very important pin.
Yes, it is.
I know where you're going.
Okay, excellent. So let's put a pin in that and then move into episode 2. Go for it, dude.
But before we move into episode 2, the final scene of episode 1 brings us the long-awaited Quark voices.
Oh, yes, you're right.
So, I'm not going to do an impression of them, because it would only ruin what I think should be a soundbite. So, what do you think? Quark bite?
Quark bites. Terrible. Oh my god.
Awful. Absolutely awful.
I don't think I realized until episode 2 that they were speaking English. I thought they were just doing like bleepy bloopies.
Yeah.
And then in episode 2 I go like, oh, it's squeaky English. I didn't understand that. Alright then.
So we move into episode 2, and basically the Doctor and Jamie get bundled into the Dominator's ship.
Yeah.
So we get a really bad scene where Prominator
yes, you're on board.
Basically goes, "We are Dominators."
Yes.
In his completely inability to act voice.
Oh, they are chewing scenery left, right, and centre.
And the Doctor and Jamie then get attached to the wall
in a great scene.
In a magnetic bonding, molecular bonding. Sorry,
molecular and magnetic bonding, equally arousing to me. I think those shots are gorgeous, and they are very clearly, they're shot backwards, right? That's how I interpreted it. They must have, as in, during the actual production, they must have pressed themselves up against the wall and then leapt away from them, and then we see that clip, that footage, in reverse, so it looks like they're being sucked up against the wall. And it looks really good. I love it. I think I probably love almost every single instance of backwards footage on Doctor Who, at least to date.
So anyway, so they're attached to the wall in a really cheap and bad special effect.
Okay. Oh, sorry, with one exception, namely when... I'm sorry to cut you off there. Namely, in Tomb of the Cybermen, when the Cybermen in reverse footage...
reverse order go back into the tomb.
Yes, exactly, and tear apart the plastic sheeting. Oh,
yeah,
it's
that
so
makes
dumb.
no sense.
No, not at all. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
But, 5 minutes after they have to stand next to a wall because they were too cheap to actually have handcuffs to be put on the wall.
Oh, but it's clever, man.
Jamie does get put on a sunbed, which is quite nice, and probed by Rago, who has got a 1968 version of Google Glass.
Yes, he does. Oh my god, you're very, very right about that. It actually looks super duper futuristic.
It does actually. It's one of the few times actually when the 1960s shows got future tech close.
Kinda right. Almost right.
It's a bit bulkier than we have now, but for all intents and purposes, it's Google Glass. I do like this scene, and I know I'm cruel to this episode, but I actually think that bit looks really good.
Yeah.
But I want to put one of my 2 pins now into the control panel, which is behind the Prominator.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I have no idea what you're going to say now.
Which shows the number of quarks.
Oh, yes. I have a note later on about that. It
shows 8 quarks.
Oh. How many quarks do we actually get to see in the serial?
I'll come to that as we're going along.
Okay, sorry, can I just say, a bit later on, I think it's in episode 4 or 5 even, as quarks are being taken out of commission, those quark lights, they go off. It was only then that I realized that demarcated how many quarks there were, because up until that point, including here in episode 2, I was convinced that, whatever production team did Tomb of the Cybermen and was had a massive hard-on for stencils, they just put quark stencils all over the place in this one.
Yeah, but they actually had a use.
Yeah,
in the
isn't that
episode.
kind of cool? I think that's very cool.
This episode is basically split between the Doctor and Jamie having tests
Yes.
by the Pro and Dominators.
Massive Doctor Who trope, by the way.
Yeah, and
How
you know,
often
it
have-
happens a number of times in Troughton
It also happened a number of times with Hartnell.
with Hartnell.
He had to undergo a bunch of IQ tests. Like, every third or fourth alien basically goes, would you fit into Mensa? And then they give him some rudimentary, very childish test that he needs to solve.
But whereas Hartnell would go, stupid boy, yeah, I can do this, just do it like this.
Very true.
I
miss Hartnell.
Hartnell's back. Just for a moment. Patrick Troughton's Doctor in this is trying to be, is pretending to be stupid.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my giddy aunt, I don't know how to put these circles in these squares. Ooh!
Yeah, exactly. Which is pretty clever, I think.
Yeah, to be honest, that's half of the episode. So half of the episode is the Doctor and Jamie pretending to be thick, which in Jamie's case doesn't require pretending.
Do you not like Jamie?
He's okay. I
like
think
him.
that some of his episodes are really good, and spoilers, in Mind Robber, the next one you're going to do, he's not in there for an episode because he was ill,
Oh.
and he is actually missed. So it's that's quite good. But I think I think he's become a bit inconsistent in what he should know and what he shouldn't know being a Highlander. Plus,
I
he
agree.
worked
I completely
better-
agree.
He worked better with Deborah Watling as Victoria Waterfield than he
But I
does
hated her.
with Zoe.
Zoe is so much better than Victoria.
I think he worked better with Victoria as a pair.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. I probably agree with you.
The other half of the episode,
Yeah.
we get Zoe with the Dulcians,
Yes.
and
It's Zoe and... Is his name Callie?
Cully.
Cully.
so the problem, and this is where we get the problem I have with Cully. So apart from him wearing a bad maternity dress, everyone in this episode treats Cully like he's about 16 and 17. Everyone.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't thought of it like that.
So childish curiosity, the way he speaks, some of the things he says. He gets described as the director's son all the time. He's described a couple of times as a child.
Yeah, but that checks out, I think, because the director is like 150 years old, so it's okay for him to have a 30-year-old son.
Yeah, but I think it was because of the way that they were described and how he acts, how Cully acts during the story. It was written for someone who was significantly younger than Arthur Cox. I think that Arthur Cox is terribly miscast in the role of Cully. If you think back to the Dulcians on board the ship,
Yeah.
the young one that was talking a lot, the young male that was
Do you
talking...
mean that then got completely quarked?
Yes, that one.
Oh, okay.
Wahid, I think he is. The actor that plays him would have been better playing Cully. Someone younger, someone who you could believe is, has childish curiosity, someone you can believe who's a bit of a troublemaker. Arthur Cox looks like a librarian.
See, I don't mind that. I'm kind of happy for Cully to be sort of like the dude, but on Dulcis. Like, he's mature, but he's still cool and he's a rebel and whatever. What I think they did poorly with the character of Cully in the plot, they singled him out as like, oh, you don't take to our ways. We Dulcians, we just want to ponder things. We want to have this scientific method. By the way, we'll get to that pin later on. We want to study in order to not implement our knowledge anywhere we just want to relax and ponder shit. But you want to break rules. And there are two things that they're not considering in doing that. Number one, there are no consequences to him breaking those rules. It's just like, oh, we look at him like he's the court jester, and I guess we kind of disregard that because he's the director's son. But there are still no consequences. And number two, he's clearly not alone. They even say in this episode, when he finally meets his dad goes, don't you think that we know about Cully's Adventure Trips Incorporated or whatever it's called? Like, he has his own travel agency, which was how he ferried those youngsters to the island in the first place. Like, he basically takes them, he crosses forbidden borders for money, but that means that someone is paying him. That means that he is not alone. That means that there must be a whole subset of the Dulcian society that wants to rebel, that is free thinking, and that is like you know, they have everything but authority. Like, they are basically the hippies of that planet.
I cannot disagree. You know, Cully is meant to be the one, but the moment you sort of put your finger in this little plot hole,
Yeah.
and start, it just turns into a great big Dalek, you know, hole in Surrey. You know, it's just it's so big that you should stop asking questions at that point.
I guess, yeah.
So anyway, Zoe's there. You know, she then goes into the council of people who are wearing nun dresses, with a spinning top on the table, which looks like an oversized thimble. It honestly, some of the set art here
Loved it.
is just so 1960s.
I loved it all.
I'm not saying I didn't love it. I'm saying that this is 1960s. This is Space 1999. You know,
Yeah.
it's all of this. What does the future look like? And they get it so abysmally wrong. It's actually funny.
But it's not the future, it's the planet Dulcus. I totally buy it as a futuristic, yet alien society, where everyone just lounges around. Of course they've got a twirly thing on their table. Like, obviously. That makes perfect sense.
As I said, I from the set dressing, I don't have a problem with it. But I have a couple of things which go on during these scenes, which I think bear a little bit of closer examination.
Okay.
So this one of the council of the nuns, basically, they're wondering where the doctor is.
Yeah.
The guy is shown that the radiation on this island of death has dropped to 0.
Yeah.
The guy says, that means that radiation is only present in the atmosphere for 172 years exactly, which is literally the least scientific explanation of anything that I have heard in a science fiction show forever. I think I am hoping that the person is meant to be that thick, you know, because it's a really bad correlation causation fallacy.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But
And
I wonder if...
we go across to the Dominators, who this scene is right after it, which has the Doctor and Jamie playing with this laser gun, which you Chekhov gunned earlier on in this story, about how they work. And the Doctor is playing literally about as thick as you can get, but is obviously playing at being thick to anyone.
I think he does it very well.
Who has half a brain. Jamie is being thick, but that doesn't require any acting on his part. But the Dominators, who I will point out are the masters of 10 galaxies.
Yep.
Right? That's an important point. Can't tell that the Doctor is acting. Right? And the thing to remember here is masters of 10 galaxies.
Yes, that's true, but they did do the Google Glass scan of Jamie. We didn't say this before, so they only scanned Jamie. They didn't scan the Doc because they Prominator went, no need to scan the other one. He's going to be exactly, genetically identical, but almost identical to this chap.
I'm sorry, but that just points to my exact point that these people are thick. You know, I'm sorry that everything that these Dominators do can be caveated by, oh look, they're being thick, in this entire episode.
Okay, fine. Agree to disagree, man. But yeah, I mean, I take your point. I understand that. They should just see through his charades. But it doesn't matter. Anyway,
let us zoom through the rest of episode 2.
Yeah, to the ending.
Has precisely one other bit, which in Doctor Who lore is fairly important.
Oh, what's that?
So, the Prominator, Google Glasses a second person.
Yes.
Teal from the Dulcians.
Okay.
And apparently, Teal, like all Dulcians, has 2 hearts.
Yes. Oh, right. Well, okay. So my note about this comes a little bit earlier because when he Google Glassed Jamie, he said this is a very primitive body. He only has 1 heart.
Yes.
And then they never scan Doc. I was going to ask you, do you think this is where maybe they started toying with that idea? Like, there are people in the universe who have 2 hearts. Maybe the Doc could do that. Maybe he could have one of those bodies.
The very first, because Wheel in Space, which was the last episode, had the Doctor checked over.
Yep.
And the human, the human that looks him over doesn't make any comment that he has 2 hearts.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was just the episode before this. It's only, 6 episodes from now? Episode 50?
Yep.
51, sorry. 51 I'm looking for, which is the first John Pertwee spearhead from space. That is the first time in Doctor Who lore that it is mentioned he has two hearts.
Oh, it's not until Pertwee?
It's not until Spearhead, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
But both Wheel in Space and our favourite, Edge of Destruction, both deliberately say he has one heart.
Edge of Discretion. Okay, fine. Sorry, I had to say that. It's Pavlovian. Okay, let's jump into episode 3 by way of just mentioning what is the cliffhanger of episode 2, and I would like to put a pin in that as well. The cliffhanger of episode 2 is Cully and Zoe, they have returned to the island now, to this building,
museum.
Just like whatever it was. Like, it's the control room, I guess, in a way.
The sort of, the research bit.
Yes, exactly. So they return to that, and just at that point, the Culminator orders the Quarks to destroy the building that they're in. And a bit of, like, just rubble falls atop them. End of episode 2, episode 3. Put a pin in that.
Pin placed.
Okay.
So, like, every time Toba goes, destroy, 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 the Prominator says, no, bad Toba, we need to conserve the energy of the Quarks.
Exactly.
Basically, the Quarks are, for all intents and purposes, the batteries on board the ship as well. They seem to contain all the energy. So that's a bit weird. Cully and Zoe are trapped inside this building. They try to get out, and then they face off against a Quark, and they now get captured by the Dominators.
Yes, exactly. And meanwhile, Doctor and Jamie, they have now also gone to the city, right?
So they've gone to meet the Council of the Nuns.
Exactly. So they are now there, and they're just trying to sway the dumbest pacifists ever. And just to clarify, they do not. They are unable to sway them, just as Zoe and Cully were unable to sway them, were in fact unable to convince them that there were even robots on this island. But this second scene with the Doc and Jamie culminates in them basically just opening up a Skype call with the island, and lo and behold, on the screen is a Quark, is a robot. So why did they not do that before? Like, there are cameras all over this island, at the very least in the building that I mean, one must assume, at the very least they know that there are other people there, right? They're trying to convince them, these are the people who are on this island, just turn on a fucking camera and we'll speak to each other. Why did no one suggest this beforehand? In fact, why did they even go to the city? Why not just call them? Because apparently there's a direct line to, like, the Dulcian Senate, like the elders of this entire... I'm not wrong in thinking this, right? They are the elders and the leaders of the entire society. They're not just like a bridge club that meets every now and then and discusses whatever, hobby chairs.
They're the leaders.
Yeah, exactly. So, A, why could you just call them? And B, if you can, why didn't you?
So, now the Doctor and Jamie go off in a capsule and fly over back to where they came from.
Love this bit, by the way.
This is also significantly more higher quality when you watch it on DVD, because it's obviously filmed differently. I don't know whether it's how it's done differently, but the bits inside the capsule look much higher quality than all the bits around it when it was upscaled.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I got these clips off Dailymotion. I did watch them on a TV, but I got them off Dailymotion, so, yeah.
What do you like about the scene?
There are two things that I like about the scene. Number one, I like that it's Jamie who realizes, you do realize, Doc, that we're heading back to where that robot we literally just saw is waiting for us. Which I think, it's just a kind of fun scene. It's silly, it's...
Yeah, I agree.
Like, the Doc is being a bumbly Mr. Magoo.
While I dislike this episode, there are fun moments, and this is one of them.
Yeah, and number two of what I like about the scene is that the Doctor, they're still mid-air. We learned earlier on that it takes a maximum of 8 minutes for this pod thingy to go from any point A to any point B, by the way. That's how vague it was. And he's still, cool as a cucumber, decides, we're not bones, I can totally hotwire this thing. There are no controls, I'll make some controls, and he suddenly just digs his way into the nose cone of this rocket ship. I think it's fantastic. I think it's very doctory and very clever. And it's just a perfect juxtaposition to how Magoo-like he was a moment ago when he didn't even realize where they were heading.
But this is Troughton's Doctor. You know, this is Troughton's Doctor in a nutshell. He's a bit manic.
Yeah.
Incredibly intelligent, but makes it look like he isn't. He is a Mr. Magoo type character.
Okay, I like that. I think we can end episode 3 by going back to a pin. Oh, sorry, you've got something to say. Go for it.
Before we get to episode 3...
We are in episode 3.
Sorry, before we get to episode 4...
Yeah.
The Council of the Nuns summons Tenser.
Oh, yes, English Russell Crowe.
Yes, the chairman of the Energy Committee, who, which you won't know, not having been brought up in England...
Okay.
...is played by famed children's TV impresario and actor Brian Cant.
Oh, wow.
Who went on to do an awful lot of children's television in the 70s and 80s. He plays Tenser.
Okay.
And to be honest, he's not in it for long, but he's quite good. And he has a prior Doctor Who connection.
No way.
Yes, he was killed off in the first episode of the Daleks' Master Plan.
No way.
Yeah, he played Gantry.
Gantry, wait, is he the one... Wait,
Gantry was with, I think, Brett Byron in episode 1 of Daleks' Master Plan.
Oh, wow. Very, very cool. Okay, alright.
So now we can move to the end of episode 3.
Nice.
Which is yet more building destroying.
Yes, that's the only reason I wanted to mention it before moving on with this serial. And that is that we end the episode on basically a repeat of the ending of episode 2. Right? So Doc and Jamie have separated. Jamie is now in the building, except he's there with Cully, I think. And he's got the laser, he's trying to Schwarzenegger all of the quarks, but the quarks get the better of him. They destroy the building as per the orders of the Culminator, just as in episode 2, and just as in episode 2, rubble falls atop them. Boom. Done. Episode 4.
Episode 4 starts off with, like, oddly enough, episode 3 did, with Rhaego threatening Toba now.
Surprise, surprise.
Rhaego gives him 2 choices. Either you will be molecularly destroyed, so, killed.
Awesome.
Or submission. So we have domination and submission.
Meanwhile, there's someone who's molecularly bonded to the wall.
Yeah, this is an entire episode in someone's psyche. So,
my note about this is just the Prominator challenges the Culminator to a game of who's the best Dominator.
Which is actually exactly what happened. Jamie has a plan.
Yeah, he does.
Because obviously he survives. So, Jamie's plan involves killing futuristic robots with rocks.
I know. It's so dumb and I love it.
And sadly, it works.
It does work. I mean, of all of the implementations of his plan, and you're right, it's just like, I'm going to throw some rocks at this robot. The best one is, you'd think that he lures the Quark into like a narrow passage where he can't escape, but he just lures the Quark into the bottom of a gigantic quarry, and probably that very same quarry that featured in so many classic Doctor Who serials, right? And Cully, from above, rolls a gigantic boulder down the side of the quarry, and it somehow still hits the Quark. Do you know what it reminds me of? You know in Life of Brian, in Monty Python's Life of Brian, when they're stoning the guy in the beginning, and then the scene culminates with all these people carrying like a gigantic Stonehenge-sized rock and dumping it on him? Those are the vibes I get.
Do you know what happens when we talk about films?
No?
Well, I've never ever seen them.
Have you not seen Life of Brian?
No!
Okay, well, I only spoiled one tiny scene, maybe 5 minutes into it. How dare you never have seen Monty Python's Life of Brian? You have to. You must. You shall.
Okay, I will. Okay. So we do that. And then we go back to the first of my 2 pins.
Oh.
So, we now get a scene of the Quark Wall.
Yes, yes.
And it shows that we start off with 8 quarks, and now there are 4 quarks left. Because it's gone down, so that only the last 4 quarks are lit up, The top 4 are all gone.
Really?
Which makes sense, because a few of them have been destroyed earlier on in the episode.
Okay.
So, let's put a mathematical pin in that
Okay.
for episode 5.
Okay, fine. But before we leave that scene, can I just point out that Doc and Zoe are the ones who are observing this aboard the Dominator spaceship, and for some reason, they have just been left to their own devices aboard the spaceship.
In the control room.
In the control
of the
room, yes,
spaceship.
exactly.
You know, do you remember when I mentioned in the previous episodes how thick the Dominators are?
Yep.
It doesn't get any better. So anyway, now the Dulcian Council of the Nuns
Yeah.
basically has a conversation with Rhaego. Rhaego's arrived.
Love this scene. It's hilarious.
So Rhaego basically starts shouting at Brian Cant.
Is he the director?
He's Senex.
Oh,
so
okay.
Tensa then
Dude, these
basically...
names mean nothing to me.
Tensa, that, you know, basically goes, "Oi you, be more polite."
Yes, exactly. It's great.
Can you care to make an appointment? That is, after all, the correct. Listen and obey me.
The Prominator goes, "Look, kid, right, with your fancy dresses and your frilly nun outfits, I'm in charge here." Tensa goes, "Oh no, girlfriend, you will obey the Dulcian Council of the Nuns." Rhaego goes, "Destruction!" And he dies. Which is how basically the scene goes.
Yeah.
And then...
Isn't that good? I think that's
he-
hilarious. Bing Bong, Future Pumpkin here. Sorry for jumping in with another interruption. The reason I am interrupting is that I think this is probably a good time to mention that, yeah, there's a pin that we dropped quite early on in this review that we completely and utterly forgot to get back to, and that is the whole Dulcian credo of, let's just accept facts. Let's just, you know, if someone tells you something, there's no point in disproving it because it's just a fact and you might as well live with it or accept it and so on and so forth. Which is why none of the people on the island were ever surprised to hear that, oh, they're aliens. Oh, well, of course they're aliens, because why wouldn't they be? Even though they've never seen alien species before. However, in this scene, and in the preceding scene, Zoe and what's-his-face, Cully, and then next up, Doc and Jamie, are entirely unable to convince the council of this whole planet that they are from another planet, because they don't accept facts as truths. Either way, point is, that credo is worth shit. Anyway, that's it. Back to the show. Bing bong.
He orders that all the Dulcians are rounded up and enslaved. So the entire planet, all Dulcians, rounded up.
Well, that's easy enough, I think.
With the 4 remaining quarks.
Yes, but A, hubris, and B,
hubris, yeah.
he has also, we've neglected to mention this, he and the Combinator have both, they've like Skype called, not Skype called, they've WhatsApped the other Dominators, like the fleet.
Yes.
And said, oh, we've plucked this planet, ready for, ripe for the picking. And, I mean, one must assume more Dominators are coming, right?
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that.
Okay,
So-
hang on, I've got a
so-
question for you, sorry, the fundamental question about this serial, or, like, the bad guy plot. So, the whole point of this, we've already mentioned this, but the whole point is they're drilling into the planets, and they're gonna detonate a nuclear device inside the center of the planet, which will turn the whole planet into nothing but like radioactive fuel. We've had this in a few, I want to say, a few recent movies this has even happened. This exact evil plan. Bing bong, Future Pumpkin again. I wonder if maybe I was thinking of Boomtown when I said this. In Boomtown, the Raxacorica Phalapatorians, led by, what's-her-face, Blonde Felfoch Sladine? Something along those lines. She wants to blow up the Earth and turn it into, I think, scrap metal, like radioactive scrap metal to sell off as fuel, probably, to other species. Which is kind of similar to what they're doing here. Anyway, yeah, that's it. Bing bong. Doesn't matter. Turning the whole planet into a pile of fuel is going to be enough to, like, run their entire fleet for ages, right?
Yes.
So why did they only send 2 dudes, and what is the rest of the fleet doing? Why didn't they send the entire fleet? Because this is where it's at, clearly.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that when you start digging into actually the plot, it contains more holes than the center of this planet.
Okay, fine. Alright, let's end episode 4. Episode 5.
So episode 5 is Rhaego finally gets sick of running around after Jamie,
Yep.
sends all the quarks back to the drill site, which leaves Jamie and Cully to head back and to try and rescue everyone.
Yeah.
Jamie then starts killing these killer robots
Yep.
with a variety of things which really shouldn't work.
Yeah, like rocks.
And
Other rocks.
and he basically topples one over by tying his feet together.
Rope.
It's the equivalent of tying someone's shoelaces together.
Dude, it worked in Empire. The Imperial Walkers, you know?
Yeah, this is not as good as that.
No, it is not at all. This is literally Jamie still wearing a kilt, sneaking up on a robot that can't see behind him.
This is when the Doctor gets told about why this energy, why they're about to create this volcano.
Yeah, oh yes, sorry, yes. So, wait, hang on. Not just a volcano. I think the way that it's set up is, worst case scenario, the Dominators will succeed and the whole planet will explode. Best case scenario, they won't blow up a nuclear bomb in the hole, but just the sheer fact that they have drilled those holes means that there will be a volcanic eruption that will destroy the entire island.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Let's put a pin in that as well.
So, because we don't have a Drew here, I feel like I should say Sonic right now. So he uses the Sonic to start blasting through the wall this time.
Yes, he does. He uses it basically as a blowtorch.
The rot has started.
Exactly. I wonder if this is... Not wonder. This is definitely the beginning of the Sonic is capable of doing almost anything. It is a Swiss Army knife of the future. He even says it's a little more than a sonic screwdriver.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the Doctor then decides he's going to make a grenade.
Which is great. And JC, that's Jamie and Cully.
Out of a first aid kit.
Yep. And Jamie and Cully, they just start flinging them around the place, destroying quarks all over the place. Wait, now I get your pin.
So, we've now moved to the time where the pin comes into our chat.
Oh, the penny dropped. I finally understand what you mean. Okay, go for it.
Rhaego now says we only have 8 quarks left.
Okay.
But because about 2 episodes ago they were down to 4, they've actually got -1 quarks left. They've got anti-quarks at this point. They had
Are you
8.
sure that you saw all of the quark lights, though?
Yeah.
Could it be that there were quark lights that we never got to see in this episode?
It's possible, but using the information we have in this episode,
okay, that's fair.
The number of quarks that they have is completely wrong.
Yep.
It's an inconsistent quark.
Inconsistent quark, yes. Very true. Okay. And this is also where we get to learn, where we learn about the whole molten core thing. But in this conversation, the Prominator actually says something to the effect of, so the Dulcians, they failed their slave labor qualifications exam, so actually, now they're just going to, quote, die along with their planet. And on screen, visibly, the Cominator gets an immediate and throbbing boner. Because for 4.5 episodes, he has wanted to do nothing but kill these people, and now finally he gets to.
Absolutely. And then we get the fact that the episode is tied up quite quickly, again, because bear in mind that this is now 1 episode shorter than it should have been.
Sure.
So Cully gets hit, but due to the fact that the quarks are running low on power, he's not killed.
He's just stunned, basically, yeah.
The Doctor, so Rhaego drops the death device into the hole.
Yeah.
And
oh, we didn't even explain why he used the Sonic before. Do you want to explain this plan? Because it is fantastic.
Because what he's doing is basically reliving the plot of Daleks' Invasion Earth 2150 and catching the device.
Yes, you're right. I hadn't considered the parallel there. Yes, definitely. Except in this case, it is literally like they are Charles Bronsoning through the wall.
Yes.
It's underground, and they're catching this roughly rugby ball-sized bomb in their hands. As opposed to in the Dalek Invasion of Earth, they had like planks that would catch the bomb, right? So in this one, the Doctor,
he just catches it himself.
He just catches it. I mean, fairly risky plan, Doc. Like, what if you don't catch it? Maybe you should pick someone like Jamie to catch it instead, if you have to at all. Like, pick someone maybe younger, more nimble, you know. But regardless, that then just leads to this fantastic scene in which we get the Doctor, or rather, honest to God, confirm this on TARDIS Wikia, his stuntman running with the rugby ball of death to the Dominator spaceship and basically just plopping it inside it as it takes off. And not entirely unlike that episode of Rick and Morty, he just chuckles as the Dominators blow up.
Yeah, you know.
Yes, that's great. Sorry, I love Rick and Morty.
That is that entire scene. I can't deny anything that's the Doctor, willingly blows someone up, which wouldn't happen later on. He'd sonic the device and it would just stop working.
That's true.
The last ever sight we get of the Prominator and the Cominator, or the Minators, is basically them bickering like a married couple.
Yeah. Do you think that they see... I can't remember. Do they see the bomb? Like, do they know that they're going to die?
The Prominator does.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's great.
Then, basically, Doctor, Jamie and Zoe head towards the TARDIS. The Doctor basically sees volcanic lava heading towards them, which sets up the next episode.
And which also... Oh, really? It does?
Yes.
Okay, but in that case, I haven't seen the next serial yet, but does that mean that the next serial starts on the planet Dulcus?
Yes.
Is the whole episode set on planet Dulcus?
No.
Okay, because my final notes of this entire serial is, and then they leave and there's a volcanic eruption that undoubtedly kills all of the ancillary characters.
Yeah.
Yeah? Right? They all die.
We never come back to Dulcus after 30 seconds into the Mind Robber.
Okay.
And that is the end of the Dominators.
Yes, I think so. Shall we rate this?
Yes, but I have one more bit of trivia for you.
Oh, sorry, go for it.
If you have any desire to revisit the wonders and the great villainy of the Dominators...
Oh my god, do I ever?
You could buy the...
You lost me.
The fourth novel in the Lethbridge Stewart novel series from last year, from 2015.
Oh, really?
Which is called Mutually Assured Domination.
Oh, good title.
By Nick Walters. So I am going to read you the publisher's summary of this.
Okay.
Quickly. The Dominators, masters of the 10 galaxies, have come to Earth and brought with them their deadly robotic weapons, the Quarks. It's the summer of 69. Flower power is at its height, and nuclear power is in its infancy. Journalist Harold Chorley is out of work, and Colonel Alistair Lethbridge Stewart is out of sorts. Dominex Industries are on the up, promising cheap energy for all. But people have started going missing near their plant on Dartmoor. Coincidence? Or are sinister forces at work? Join Lethbridge Stewart and uneasy ally Harold Chorley as they delve into the secrets behind Dominex and uncover a plan that could bring about the end of the world. Which sounds actually a lot more interesting than this episode.
Yeah, I am almost 100% on board. I mean, were it not for the incredible parallels with this serial, I would be a full 100%. I'm now maybe 95% on board.
But what I will say
that sounds
is,
tremendously entertaining.
I would like us to, on whobackwhen.com, put the front cover of the book.
Done.
Which I have linked to you there.
Thank you very much.
And the reason why is the Quark in the front cover of this looks infinitely more dangerous on the front cover of the book, which was from 2015, I hasten to add.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I'm looking at the image now. Go to whobackwhen.com and check it out, ladies and gents.
It looks dangerous. It looks far better than the Quark. This could have been a substitute Dalek.
Yeah, that looks pretty amazing. If only. If only. But I just want to say, on the foot of that Quark, it says Q2, so that's like a Mark II.
I must say, I haven't read it, but those Quarks look a lot more dangerous.
Yes, they do. Fantastic stuff.
Reviews?
Reviews.
I didn't like it.
Really?
No. I think that the Dominators are incredibly poor villains. They're incredibly thick. They're the masters of 10 galaxies. How? Are there 10 empty galaxies out there that they're masters of? Probably.
Are they the same, sorry to cut you off, are they the same galaxies and with the same numerical values as we've encountered before on Doctor Who? Like Galaxy 4, for example?
Well, they do seem to be like the male equivalent of the Dravens.
Yes.
Because bear in mind, if there were any female Dominators, they'd be called Dominatrixes. It begs too many questions. I don't know. I don't want to know. They are... Lincoln and Haseman were quite right to remove their name from this for whatever reason they did. They were incredibly right to shorten it by an episode, because I think another episode with a cliffhanger of a building being destroyed would just send me to sleep. You know, I'm sorry, Morris Barry, you know, you did Tomb of the Cybermen, but then you did this, which sort of nulls that out.
Okay.
Ronald Allen, were you told not to act? Cully is just played by the wrong actor. You have a shot of the TARDIS which is so poor it's unbelievable. They did better in An Unearthly Child. The Quark voices are irritating. The Dominators have dialogue which is copied and pasted from each other. I like the Google Glass. The Council of the Nuns was, you know, to be honest, done slightly better in The Sound of Music. That's pretty much where I am on this episode. I give it a 1.8.
1.8. Okay, all right. Wow, you really don't like this one. Okay, so I agree with a lot of what you just said. I think it was a regrettably poorly written serial, but I don't think it was poorly directed. I think the actors did as well as they could with the material at hand. Yes, this was shortened by an episode, but I mean, I didn't know that when I watched this. And to be honest, not because this was a slog to get through, but because I kept comparing it in my mind to 6-episode slogs that I have seen of Classic Who. And I kept thinking, you know what, 5 episodes, that is the perfect duration for one of these serials. I can totally get on board with this. Prominator and Cominator, they were just caricatures. The Quarks, so immobile, so cumbersome, so ridiculous, so great. I loved them. I thought the Doctor was fantastic in this one. I think Troughton did a great job. I really liked him. I liked his interplay with all of the different kinds of aliens, as in with the hippie Dulcians, with the Senate Dulcians, and with the Dominators. I thought he suddenly showed his versatility as a character. Jamie looked like he had so much fun in this serial. He got to blow up things, and that's exactly what he enjoys doing. It was great. What I would have liked to see more of was Zoe. I thought Zoe was spiffing in the episodes that she was in. Like, she started plotting, it's like, oh, we need to get a weapon, we need to destroy these things, but then everything just led down the path of, no, give all the agency and the weaponry to the boy. And in the end, her plan was executed, no pun intended, by Jamie. Basically, Zoe didn't get to do anything much. She had lots of plans, she had lots of ideas, but she didn't get to execute a single one of them. The main reasons I really like this serial, though, is that, and we haven't touched upon this at all, I don't know why, but I wish I had brought this up earlier, is that actually I see this as a satire partly of bureaucracy and sort of the elderly who run a country, in this case a planet, but mostly a satire of one culture invading another culture to strip it of natural resources. I mean, this is basic. This is like space Pocahontas, you know? The Dominators have come to this planet to turn the inhabitants of the world into slaves and the world itself into fuel. For that reason, it does... I love that you made the reference to the Darwin, actually. For that reason, it does what the Darwins did not pull off. I'm giving this episode a 2.3. Immensely enjoyable.
We're actually not that far off.
2.3? No, that's true.
Oh, that's good.
No, not that far at all. But I want to say I'm kind of close to the... Oh, wait. Oh, do I want to change that score? You know what? Give it a 2.4. It's very close to 50-50 for me.
I think I was erring on the side of being generous.
Okay. Fair enough. We have a listener mini review for the Dominators. I say mini review, no, it's a maxi review. That's right, ladies and gentlemen of podcast land. I'm sure you can guess who sent this one in. This one comes from Trenton Bless. Hey Trenton, how you doing, buddy? As we have said before, feel free to send us 250 words and we will read it out in full, but if you send us more, then we will be forced to truncate it. And Trenton, you sent us 806 words, buddy. So, as a consequence, we are going to read out some of our faves.
Okay, so Trenton says that backstage unrest can either bring out the best in a production crew by stimulating their creative juices, or be manifested on screen with merciless clarity. And the opening 2 stories of Season 6 provide textbook examples of these scenarios. And it is apparent in seconds which is which.
It's hard to root for anyone among the black and white protagonists. The scowling, bickering Dominators are one note, while the Dulcians, surely Dulcian is the correct derivative of Dulcus, then again, maybe Dullard does the job just as well, are mostly cringing simpletons. Arthur Cox does his best with the more spirited Cully, but...
Yeah, centering an entire plot on a boring operation says it all, really. It's tempting to say, move along here, there's nothing to see. But given the behind-the-scenes turmoil, perhaps we should be grateful it ever made transmission at all. So maybe a 2.58, rounded to 2.6, out of 5 is an alright rating. I would agree that Mervyn Haseman, when he said that so many Doctor Who serials missing, and yet with this one, we have the whole damn lot. But at the same time, the model work was pretty good. That's maybe the only great thing about the serial. And the Quarks, of course. The Quarks were kind of cool. So, thank you, Trenton.
Yeah, well done, Trenton. Ladies and gents, that was obviously just a fragment of the magnificent maxi review that Trenton sent in, and you can read it in full on whobackwhen.com. Just go to the Dominators page. You'll find it, I'm sure. You know how the internet works. And in the meantime, / after you've read it, if you want to high-five Trenton online, you can do so. Go to Twitter. He is at Trenton Bless. That is Bless with 2 S's. Just one quick note, dude. We didn't even point this out, but Trenton's maxi review reminded me of this. We didn't point out their names. The Dominators who dominate people are called Dominators, and the Dulcians, I'm assuming it's because they are sickly sweet. They are like the dulce de latte of the galaxy.
And they're very docile.
Oh, that as well. I didn't think about that. But Dulcus, that sounds to me like from Dolce. Dulcus? Isn't Dulcus... Oh, shit. Need to remember Latin. Oh, decades ago. Genitive, plural, of the sweet... I'm not sure. I can't remember. Either way, I like the reference to dullards as well. But we have yet another case of... Let's name everyone after their main characteristic.
Absolutely. And from the Latin dulcis, which when applied to a person, tends to mean that they are friendly, charming, and kind.
Ah. See, I was thinking more literally. I had forgotten that. Well done. Well done. Bing Bong, Future Pumpkin here. We did actually receive another listener mini review as well. It came in a couple of days after we had recorded this episode, so I'm doing this one as a solo. This one comes from SGamer82. Steven. How you doing, dude? All well? Awesome. Steven says, you know, it's actually kind of refreshing to see the belligerent military commander on the other side for once. That seemed to be the dynamic in this serial, as the villain commander kept having to stop his subordinate from stroking his hard-on for destruction. Very true. That's one of the things I remember most from the last time I saw the Dominators. This time, I didn't have a chance to rewatch in full, so I'll be working off memory more than I'd like. Okay, alright, I shall refrain from judging. The other thing I remember was the near incomprehensibility of the Quarks. I think this is when I realized how much a feature that was to the black and white run of Doctor Who, if not for Troughton in particular. Instead of belligerent commanders, we have a people who are too peaceful and indecisive for their own good. That, unlike the Thals, I don't recall learning how to fight when they need to. Not outside the individuals with the troop, at least. My favourite scene is perhaps Zoe counting off the time on the Doctor's demonstration bomb, while the Doctor himself is too busy explaining it. Followed closely by, we happen to be on the island, and the Doctor's fooling the Dominators into thinking he's an idiot. Yes, agreed. Very, very funny. Actually, not entirely dissimilar, as in the, we happen to be on the island, that line of Jamie's. Not entirely dissimilar from when Jamie's in the rocket ship with the Doctor and going, Doc, you do realize that we're going to the robot we just saw. It's kind of fun. It's a nice kind of theme. It's a nice theme for this episode. Anyway, Stephen concludes, allowing for lapses in memory since it's been a while, I'm going to give the Dominators a 3.5. I didn't think it was great, but I also don't recall anything bothering me so much. I remember it all this time later. Stephen, you have a huge heart, 3.5. That is a very generous rating. This is a fantastic mini review, and a very mini review. So thank you very much for sending this one in, dude. Ladies and gentlemen of Podcast Land, if you want to high-five Stephen online, you can. What? Yes, it's true. Go to Twitter. He is at SGamer82. That is 82, the number. Thanks again. Bing bong, back to the show.
So that's it. That's it for the Dominators. And thankfully, next time you get to review the Mind Robber, which is a significantly better episode. And it won't be any particular spoiler to say that the main villain in it is called the Master.
What?
No, not the one you're thinking of.
Oh, wow. That's terrible. Oh my god, I cannot believe I was just blue-balled like that. That was awful. That is the next Classic Who anyway. What is the next New Who episode?
The next New Who will be Don't Look Away, Don't Blink.
Except, yes, it is Blink.
Oh, sorry, yes, it's Blink. The episode which most people tend to say is the best episode of Doctor Who of all time. If you agree or you don't agree, tune in next time.
Yes, absolutely. And also the review that JD literally just pointed out to me off mic may or may not be our 100th review. Way more than our 100th episode, but our 100th review. It's pretty cool.
And our next Audio Who will be The Cannibalists.
Goddamn right it will be. I've listened to it, by the way. Again.
Have you?
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, I now remember it.
Let's do that one next week.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll see you then, dude. Ladies and gents, thank you for listening. You can follow JD on Twitter. He is at Marius Kane. That is Kane with a K. You can follow me as well. I am at Ponkin. Here's a soundbite of JD from several months ago, singing how you spell that.
Ponken, Ponkin.
Thanks, JD.
Thanks, JD. You're so cool.
What a badass. Catch you in the next one. Be right next to each other, and ciao.
Bye-bye.
Kablamo! Did you enjoy the show? Then please do what the cosmos compels you to and spread the gospel of Who Back When. Tell your friends. Don't have any friends? No problemo. Tell some strangers. Like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Who Back When. All in one word. Are you on Google Plus? Then find us on Google Plus. That's plus Who Back When. And when you do, tell us why you're on Google Plus. Who Back When just got its very own Twitter account. No lie. So give us a follow. You guessed it. That's @Who Back When. All in one word. Check us out on SoundCloud, vote us up on Reddit, listen to us on Stitcher, and head on over to our website, whobackwhen.com, where you can leave a comment, submit a review of your own, and peruse our visual index of aliens, monsters, and more, which increases in kablamos with every episode. And lastly, give us a rating and review on iTunes. Not only would it make us super chuffed, and it really, really would, but as thanks, we will transmigrate your iTunes nom de plume into the credit list of trailers for fake Doctor Who audiobooks produced by Who Back When. Have a poke around our bonus episodes to make more sense of that. That's it. Rock on and be rad and excellent to each other. Catch your earballs in our next Classic Who review, New Who review, or, still funny, Audio Who review. Ciao.
Who Back When?